Shawty from a J.
Sorry, I didn't know how long to keep the pose, but how we doing, everybody? Claim Brandalorian. My name is Brandon. As always, this is episode 2 or stream 2 of After Dark, all Star Wars talks for all of you night owls, because I'm a night owl myself. I figured I'd be feel like I'd be the one to kind of take the night and let's talk Star Wars. And last week was a really, really good start. I think we had like 11 people in here at once for quite a while, for like almost a straight hour. So that was really cool. Wasn't really expecting there to be too many people in the chat. And last week we had a really good talk, a really good time. And we talked Lego, we talked Andor, we talked Kathleen Kennedy retiring. And then, of course, that same day we went live. She came out and said that she wasn't retiring actually yet anyways. And then we also talked some Revenge of the Sith coming to theater. So, I mean, if you guys know me, you know Revenge of the Sith in theater is going to be the Omega. So I think it's going to be amazing. But at the same time, today we're going to do a tier list ranking of all of the shows and all of the movies as well. Got some comments here. This one was at 5:06 in the afternoon today. This is Star Wars Order. I have a suggestion. You should include the shows on the tier list. And yes, this was at first going to be a ranking of all 11 movies, but we have changed that to adding the shows, which gives it a lot more content to rank. And I feel like it actually gives a little bit more content on my side to go ahead and talk about these series and these shows. And you know me, I'm a sucker for live action Disney Star Wars series. So I think these will be a good ranking here. And Brickley Bugle, what's up, brother? Thank you for chiming in. I appreciate it. This is the Lego homie, so make sure you guys go check out the Brickley Bugle on YouTube and Instagram. And also, we had a really good podcast episode. He ended up coming on for an episode of a conversation, and it was a good one. So make sure you guys go check that out. The Smolder, yes, that's I guess that's me tonight. I'm the Smolder. But yeah, guys, absolutely. If you haven't already, make sure you go to Instagram at Clan Brandalorian. Make sure you give me a follow. We are actually doing the 500 subscriber giveaway. And just want to say thanks again before we kind of start tonight's stream. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's supporting the channel. I feel like these last 2 years, I created the channel 2 years ago. And I feel like now we're kind of going into a direction where it's like, okay, this is what we're doing here on Clan Brandalorian. And it's a huge thanks to you guys. I really appreciate everything that you guys do for me, helping me create content for you guys. And this is awesome. You know, I'm really enjoying this journey. It's amazing. But yeah, make sure you go to Instagram, follow me. And also, I do have on my profile the pinned post for the 500 subscriber giveaway. So make the instructions, make sure you like the post, make sure you're following me, and then also tag it in the story that way, and or put it in your story, tag me, that way you can get up to 3 entries there. So that'll help you get higher odds into the giveaway. And we also have 3 items we're giving. I got them right down here. Give me 1 second. All right. So first off, we do have this Luke Skywalker lightsaber desk mat. It's really cool. It's 4XL. I'm not too sure on the sizing for these desk mats. I do have a 1 through 9 movie desk mat right here, and it's really good. It's nice. It's basically a big key pad, like mouse pad, basically. But this right here, of course, you can see it says "May the Force be with you," and then Luke's lightsaber, and then it really goes into like a little detailed area there where it shows the kyber crystal in there and the inside of the lightsaber. So that's really cool. This is going to be one of the items there, and alongside we also have the 501st battle pack right here. So this will be another one in the giveaway. So make sure you go enter. That way you can get a chance to win this bad boy right here. One of my favorites. Other than Ahsoka's clones, I think that this one is really nice. And plus, I think I have about 8 of these now. So, I mean, they're definitely nice to have if you're creating an army. And of course, why would I not give a Funko? We have the new 759 Cassian Andor Funko right here from season 1. One way out right here. This is the newest Andor, newest version of Andor in Funko form. This is really, really cool. Amazing detail. And this is actually one I don't have myself. So it's kind of weird getting a Funko that I don't have to put in the giveaway. So this is a really good one. And I actually I'm pretty proud to pick this one to give away. So, but yeah, so let's go ahead and get this show rolling. We're going, like I said, if you're chiming in late, we're ranking all 11 Star Wars films, and we're going to be doing the live action and animated series as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get that up and running. And here we go. Let's see what kind of layout we should get here. No, not this one. Not that one. There we go. Yeah, we can do this one. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and take the banner down. Make sure you guys go subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. That way you guys can get into the giveaway one last time. Let's go ahead and talk some rankings. So we're gonna be going back and forth here. So if you're chiming in late, here's the start. We're ranking all 11 Star Wars films and all the live action and animated series. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna kind of pick at random. I think there's some series here that stick out more than others. So, I'm gonna go ahead and start with um let's go ahead and let's get this out the way. Let's start with Star Wars Visions. So this is the animated anime series of Star Wars. These are all different developers, creators, writers, and from the different studios within the anime production scale. And they make a whole bunch of Star Wars stories, and they're just basically shorts in anime. So it's Star Wars anime. I'm not the biggest anime person. I used to really love Dragon Ball Z when I was younger. I tried rewatching it right after COVID, and I just couldn't get back into it. So I think the anime side for me, not a huge fan, but the stories were great. And there are some leaked rumors coming out that the Ronin voice actor is going to be working on another episode or another rendition of the Ronin. So that was the first ever Star Wars Visions character that we got, little story. I will say I did love Tatooine Rhapsody. I thought that was really cool with the hut. Boba Fett was also in this episode, and it was all at the Mos Eisley or the Mos Espa Boonta Eve Classic. So cool to see that revisited again. But definitely Boba Fett was the main for the show for me. So Star Wars Visions, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in S or in C tier. just because I'm not a huge anime guy and none of the stories really connect or continue in that realm. So I think that's a good place to start. Um, but yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the next. And let's do the Bad Batch. Been talking about the Bad Batch recently on the channel. If you haven't already, make sure you go check out the other videos we posted. Today, we posted a video of a theory video for Andor season 2, and that is if Omega and Kanan Jarrus finally enter Andor season 2 live action. I think that they're coming. I think they're going to be good little sprinkles for the show, so maybe they'll come in. But Bad Batch season 1, 2, and 3, off the rip, I'm gonna put this at the A tier. The Bad Batch for me was amazing. And I feel like a lot of people who are like, I need a clone show. We need an animated clone series. In disguise, this is what that was. I think the Bad Batch, especially seeing them in the Clone Wars, they have a little tiny arc in the Clone Wars, and I think this was the clone episode that Disney envisioned for us, and it started off really well. Season 1 definitely had you wanting more for season 2. Obviously, going into season 2, we're trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Crosshair, why he is the way he is, and you really just get attached to the characters of Omega, Hunter, Echo, Wrecker, and I mean, you kind of get halfway through, and spoiler warning, our boy Tech passes away. Not good. And that was the episode where I was like, okay, wow, I really love these characters, and just seeing Tech go, it kind of sucked. And I feel like with the racing episode that he had got a few episodes prior to his exiting episode, I just it's just it was written on the wall, So and also I didn't like Sid. Sid sucked. If there's gonna be a Star Wars character that I do not enjoy, it's gonna be Sid. Man, she sucked. um, but yeah, I Bad Batch was really good for me. I think season 3 did a really good job, and I think it was trying to kind of connect what was going on with Palpatine, especially later in the films, going into Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and even some subtle hints at the sequels. Project Necromancer. We also see Moff Gideon and the Shadow Council kind of talking about that going further down the line, and it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, so there is no clones in the vault basically on Mount Tantus, which was another cool thing. Mount Tantus was used for what it was. And there's also a Zillow beast right at the end that was captured at Mount Tantus. Like, what is going on? This is a really cool thing, and especially coming from the Clone Wars era, this is it's a good callback, and we get all of these characters, all of these little Easter eggs coming back to kind of wrap up the series. So yeah, Bad Batch definitely 100% in that A tier column. Amazing, amazing. Let's go ahead and pull a live action here. We're gonna go ahead and do the Ahsoka series, and this, without a doubt, personally, I'm not a huge Rebels fan. I think Ahsoka season 1 was basically Rebels season 5.5. It definitely brought everything back to Star Wars and the Ahsoka universe. Plus, the way we see her in Mandalorian going into her own series, it was so different and felt so Star Wars. Getting new characters like Balin Skull, Shin Hati, and finally seeing a live action Thrawn, Captain Enoch. We get to see Night Mothers. We get to see Morgan Elsbeth transform into a goddamn Night Mother, or into a Night Sister. She's fully a witch now. Really, really interesting. A lot of cool things happen. We get to see live action Ezra. We get to see live action Sabine, Hera, Jason. Finally get to see the Ghost. I mean, how cool is this? And when you're talking about it, you're only missing out one thing. Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen returning from episode 3 form in the World Between Worlds live action. Man, man, man. Shadow Warrior, beautiful episode. Probably a top 2, if not the best Star Wars live action episode that we've gotten yet, in my opinion. I think that the Ahsoka series has no flaw. I think this is going to be in the S tier. We're going to go ahead and get our first S tier. This is superior. It is a marvelous, impeccable series here, and I can't wait for season two. What are some things that we could see in season two? Definitely what kind of comes to mind right ahead is Balin's skull. What is calling to him? Is it Abeloth? Is it the sun? Is it Anakin? It could be anything. Balin Skull is such a random character at the beginning of Ahsoka, and when you learn a little bit of his character dynamic going into how he talks to Thrawn, how he talks to Ahsoka, and seeing that relationship that he carries with Shin as her master, it's very beautiful. And R.I.P. to Ray Stevenson, did a beautiful job, absolutely amazing. It sucks that he won't be there for season two. And of course, could you imagine all of the fans like myself and you guys, just what he would see um, for all of us loving his character? And characters like Shin Hati completely took over the internet. Um, Sabine live action is looking really good. Ezra live action is looking really good, and I think Thrawn is probably the best coming in the live action. The dude looks amazing, and absolutely seeing the story of Morgan Elsbeth continue, because it's kind of like, well, who's she? Who's Ahsoka fighting in this Mandalorian episode? What is her significance? But so yeah, and that kind of ties into Tales of the Empire, which we'll dive into later. But I mean, season two is going to be amazing. I mean, we're supposed to get more Anakin, may get more flashbacks. There's rumors that Ewan McGregor is going to have a little cameo, and also Natalie Portman, but I think some of those were debunked, some of those rumors. But also, I mean, seeing more Anakin, of course, we don't want it fleshed out completely, just kind of getting a Hayden Christensen overload, but I think it's going to be really good to see, what we get for this season. And I mean, I'm ready for it, guys. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think it's an amazing, amazing series. And kind of looking at the list here, let's pull a movie. I think we're going to go ahead and go with Rise of Skywalker. So this is going to be an interesting one. If you guys know me, I'm a fan of the sequels. I think if anything is wrong with them, there's some just sketchy writing. I feel like, you can see where some of the writing was kind of left in the open. Different directors, that's what happens. Different writers, that's what happens. So, I mean, nonetheless, I think it was a great movie. I think the first 10 minutes is some of the best Star Wars that we could ever see. Seeing Kylo Ren just completely go full badass mode and just finally being fearless. And by the end of the movie, he kind of transitions back to Ben Solo. But I think everything about Kylo Ren at the beginning was amazing. I remember seeing this in theaters and just being like, man, I can't wait to see this again, just because, I mean, there's more action than the other sequel films. And plus it was the end. It wrapped up the Skywalker story, and of course we're going to get more Rey in the future, hopefully some more Kylo Ren. I think Kylo Ren completely needs a backstory. I think we need to have a if supposedly we're also getting 2 animated series. Of course, I'm hoping that one is Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss, controlling the path, the hidden Jedi path. And I hope the other one is a Kylo Ren animated series, at least, because I feel like he's such an underrated character. I mean, he's the son of Princess Leia and Han Solo, for Christ's sake. I mean, we got to get more background on him and live through those moments with him. I mean, how cool would it be to see him come up and, do missions with Leia and Han Solo and chill with Lando, Chewbacca, like all of those things. It's really cool, really cool. And plus, we can probably get some more detail in how it was when he left with his uncle Luke to go and learn the Jedi ways. So, and we kind of get to see that fall all over again. So, I mean, for me, was the movie absolutely amazing? I enjoyed it 100%, but as a movie isn't in itself very rewatchable, I will say. I think The Rise of Skywalker is probably going to sit on the C tier. Because if I was to look at this as a grade, basically overall. Up here, the S tier is just untouchable, 100%. A, obviously, 90 to 99. B, 80 to 89. And then C, 70 to 79. And then D is just kind of like not good, right? So I'm not saying it's not good because I just said that it's great. It's a good movie. But I just feel like compared to the others that we're going to go through, I feel like it has a really good seat down here on the C tier. Like I said, good movie. I was a C average student, so um, it's a very average movie. I enjoy it though. So let's go ahead and move on to. I feel like I'm picking here, but Star Wars Resistance. So for me, I have watched the first 6 episodes and I never got past that. It's kind of lame cop out for me to be like, well, this series sucks because I haven't watched it. But kind of going off of opinions from other creators and other Star Wars friends that I've talked to, I've really never heard anything overly crazy about Resistance. We get some characters like Ziano. I know that he's one of the main characters, and his dad is actually on the council with Hera or with Mon Mothma during the events of Ahsoka. And there's also BB-8, of course, is in there. I think there's glimpses of Poe Dameron. And yeah, I mean, very cool. I think the coolest thing that I've heard from Patrick over at Poptography, shout out to him. He was telling me that there's an episode where one of the pilots basically goes rogue and turns into a TIE pilot. So how cool would that be to actually go through that? We always see, good to bad, bad to good, but in this instance, it's in the pilot going from good to the Imperial side and putting on that TIE pilot helmet, which is a really cool helmet as well. But for right now, I'm going to have to throw this on the D tier just because from what I've seen, not the biggest fan, but I think I need to give it more of a chance. Like I said, which is kind of like a lame cop out, but I feel bad putting it in the D tier. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move back over here and let's go. Let's go with Tales of the Jedi. So, right off rip, this is going to go ahead and go on the A tier just because of one little thing. I will say the goods first, and then I'll get to the one thing that kind of throws me off. Maybe I'm kind of just on a loose end here with what I'll talk about, but finally seeing Count Dooku in the Jedi texts in the Jedi archives saying that over all these after all these years trying to figure out who deleted Camino out of the archives. Obi-Wan Kenobi talks to the younglings, talks to Yoda, and ends up getting some insight. And some of the kids are like, well, maybe it's deleted out of the archives, right? Someone got rid of it. That ended up being the case. Really cool that we got to see that. And, it was only like a minute. That's all we need sometimes, in Star Wars, just to get that closure and that actually seeing it happen. So that was probably one of my favorite things in Tales of the Jedi, because even as a kid watching Attack of the Clones, I'm also just like those younglings just being like, well, what happened? Like who would do that? So it's really cool to finally see that all come to light and see what actually happened. So really, really cool. I think the Ahsoka arc is really cool. I love her going against I believe it's the first brother or fourth brother that was introduced over the summer. In one of the encyclopedias for Star Wars that's officially has a name for that Inquisitor, kind of like the bird mask. Really cool. I love that little duel and showdown with him and Ahsoka. And I think the Count Dooku side of being a Jedi was amazing. Seeing the relationship that he had with Qui-Gon Jinn, it was almost just breathtaking because it's not what you expected. Actually, Qui-Gon was the Jedi he was, and Obi-Wan kind of takes after him, and you can see it in ways. And just even watching the Phantom Menace, you look at Qui-Gon and you're just like, wow, it's a very different Jedi than what we're used to, and especially coming from the original trilogy, finally seeing a more prime time for the Jedi and seeing one like Qui-Gon Jinn. It's kind of his in his own lane per se, but knowing that Count Dooku kind of couldn't handle that rage, like when they're going against that small town and he's going against the leader, and Qui-Gon was, trying to hold back Count Dooku. I think that's a really damn good arc. Um, and that was a really good side of the story. I will say the one thing for me is Yaddle. The way she goes, it was kind of weird just because Count Dooku ended up unaliving her, and that was kind of like a trial thing for Palpatine. And at the beginning of Attack of the Clones, Kiadi Mundi is talking, with Padme Amidala, and Mace Windu also gives the point that you know Count Dooku is not a murderist, or he's not a murderer, he's an idealist. And I mean, but he did that, So I don't know if there's, like I said earlier, I don't know if there's a loose end that I wasn't grasping onto, but I was also just very confused. Like, it would have made more sense if Palpatine, ended up killing her. So I mean, very, very interesting. But a very good show. I mean, it's an A all day. And that's gonna lead me into Tales of the Empire. And this I enjoyed it, but I think Morgan Elsbeth had the best arc. Barasafi wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm gonna have to put this on the D tier just because it just wasn't that great for me. I feel like we were all expecting Tales of the Sith, and as Star Wars fans, that can be our worst trait, is expecting way too much. But Tales of the Empire was cool in a way because we get to see a young Thrawn. We get to see the new TIE Defender. We get to see how that is being blueprinted. Morgan Elsbeth had a good hand in getting that going. And to me, I do like the character of Morgan Elsbeth. I think she's really cool. Um, but the Dathomir episodes and seeing all of that happen, and of course seeing General Grievous on Dathomir, like, sign me up. That was amazing. And it was also scary. It was one of those episodes where it was like, oh my gosh, is he actually being this way? And really good, really good. But all of that arc in the Clone Wars with Ahsoka and Barriss, Barriss framing Ahsoka, is all set up. Definitely had some Palpatine to it to kind of enhance getting Ahsoka out of the picture, to help Anakin turn to the dark side. Nonetheless, I think that was, kind of a cool thing. But I mean, I didn't really, personally, I didn't really care what happened to Barriss. It was cool to see that she was training to be an Inquisitor, and obviously she's very talented, and she's a really good Force wielder, and she can fight. But I just wasn't a big fan of it. The whole arc with the other Inquisitor sister, and it was just, I don't know. It just seemed kind of bland in a way. So very, very interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna have to put that in the D tier. All right. So I will say on here, it is not updated. I did add Skeleton Crew and Rebels, but what I want to do is, I believe, what is this right here? Force of Destiny. Okay, so I've never seen this, and I don't even think I've ever heard of it. Forces of Destiny. Is it all of the women characters? Huh, interesting. Interesting. I don't know what to rank that one because I've never seen it. But what we're gonna do actually is this. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a picture of a series that I am leaving out that would actually rank pretty high on my list, to be fair. So what we're gonna do is this is gonna load pretty quick, and this will be the next series that I will rank. Maybe if it loads. Maybe. Perfect. Here we go. Perfect. All right. So now, guys, we have the acolytes added here. So sorry. Thank you for bearing with me. This right here, the acolyte. So we're gonna go ahead and rank this B tier right out the gate because this series had so much feeling with it. I feel like it was such a cool thing, like I would get off work early, I would come home, hang out with the wife, and I would go pick my brother up and we would watch The Acolyte every Tuesday night. Every night it released, it was awesome. And I will just never, ever, 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 ever forget the look on my brother's face when Plagueis was on the screen for the first time because it was kind of like, is that who that is? Or no, 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 that's not him. But what is that? Who is that? Um, and I mean, we knew instantly, like, holy shit, that's Plagueis. Very, very good vibes, and it was also a good summer show. I feel like when you have a good summer show, when you feel out the vibes, everything just happened to work out the way it did. And man, the Acolyte was pretty good. Of course, just like with every show, there's always some things to kind of shake your head about. But I didn't really see too much. Carrie Ann Moss's Jedi character going at the beginning, that was just part of the story. I feel like we had to show some sort of weight being taken off of May as a character, starting off as the dark side character. Also like Kiadi Mundi being in this series, and he was only 70 years old, in the time of Revenge of the Sith. And it's just like, well, his birthday was actually never established in canon. So, I mean, it was just a lot of those things where it's just, a lot of bickering in the Star Wars community. But I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved the dynamic of Chimere. I think he's probably one of the better villain characters that we've had in all of Star Wars. Looked really cool. The helmet was very badass, and I'm a horror fan, so that helmet is pretty horrific, and it just looks like something you'd see out of a scary movie. So, and the way he floated down from the trees, the way he fights, and all of that. So, I was absolutely down for it. I think the twins dynamic was kind of off a little bit. But that doesn't mean it's bad just because I wasn't, completely down with it, if that makes sense. I really do wholeheartedly think that there should be a season 2 because I think that's going to leave everything that we saw in the first season and go off into a whole new. And this is where we're finally getting our Sith story that we were promised. Um, and I mean, I just think it's so weird how people can hate it so much when we got live action Plagueis. Like that should be like the next step going forward. And I think what they could do is, if we were to get Plagueis and Chimere to have their own show, I don't think Osha would stick around too much longer. Because she just maybe wouldn't fit in the story going down the line. Um, I think it would be so cool as if we kind of skipped forward, in the future and we see that Palpatine is the replacement for Chimere. So, I mean, they had so many opportunities to go. And I mean, technically, it was never greenlit for a season 2. There's never talks of it, and it's also like, who canceled it? So I mean, they could easily go and give us a Chimere show with Plagueis, kind of branch off of that. I mean, we are going to get comics, and we're also going to get some short stories and other books as well. That those are confirmed to where we can get more insight on these acolyte characters. So I think that's going to be really cool. We just kind of got to stay patient, but yeah, acolyte for me, B tier all day, every day. And here we can go with another new one. Let's go with a Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew is very fun. It was different, and I think it was the risk that Disney needed to make, and it hit. I think the show was amazing. I have heard more good things in the community than bad. But for me, I think at times it was a little boring. I feel like just with the end results, what's going to happen with Jod, what's going to happen with kids, what's going to happen with At-Aten, being the planet it is now with no barrier. So for me, I'm going to put it at the B tier. I think it was very, very above average. This was a great show. I think the 80s aesthetic, the 80s vibe, we get the Goonies in outer space, we get the Stranger Things in outer space, and it was really cool. It had a lot of callbacks to other Star Wars films, and it also had a good callback to other films, and more so the pop culture aspect of movies during the 80s. So I think they did a really good job on that. So yeah, I mean, it was a good story. Maybe we'll see what goes from there. I do have a really cool theory though, that maybe um in a future maybe Mandalorian Mandoverse explanation, we can go ahead and get some of the skeleton crew backstory basically. So I want to see what AT-AT used to be. I want to see how they kind of tied in with the High Republic and how they, stuck with the way. And also I want to see who Jude Law's Jedi encounter was. I want to see this lady live action. I want to see, what Jude Law went through, because his character kind of had you know, open baggage, if that makes sense. It's more of kind of like he was, nine different personas, pirate, could wield a lightsaber. I want to see more. I want to see what he's actually had to struggle with. But yeah, that's the only thing I could think of as a loose end for the show. But yes, absolutely good show. It was enjoyable, but pretty pretty slow at times, and it just kind of took me out of it. But the hype was always there. Checking out some of the comments here. Galactic Core Podcast, Andy, what's up, bro? A good friend of the show, if you guys haven't seen. Hey, buddy, just stopping by to make sure that your list is correct. Yes. So far, I feel like we are just moving and grooving. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this film out of the way, just because it looks like we need to even out the playing board here and go with something that is S tier, a movie, for instance, right here that is not a single miss. So let's go ahead and put Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back up here to even out the playing board, because The Empire Strikes Back is an amazing movie. The entire scene at on Hoth at Echo Base, amazing, absolute vibes. I used to love watching Empire Strikes Back, especially during Christmas time, especially when I was younger and we'd have snow on the ground. I would love to pop in Empire Strikes Back and just let it play. Amazing. And this is the first time we get to actually see Luke fight with a lightsaber, and Luke wasn't scared in this movie, until he got up to Vader and finally found out the truth that Vader is his father. It kind of flips the story in a huge 180, and you go from there. I think it's really cool that he got the Skywalker man treatment, to where you get your arm cut off by a lightsaber and then you get a robotic arm. It's poetry. It rhymes. So I think George Lucas had this perfect vision for what he wanted to set up Luke in the original trilogy finale episodes going into Return of the Jedi. So I feel like this sets up, it's probably has the best setup in the entire Star Wars franchise, of movie to the next, or from adaptation to the next, because the leading from Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi is probably one of my favorite transition from a movie in chronological order. So I mean, also too, we get to see the character development of Han Solo kind of come from that snazzy kind of asshole kind of character from A New Hope, which he ends up continuing to be that character throughout the original trilogy. But I think in The Empire Strikes Back, you start getting that feel for him and that love for him as a character. So I think that is very, very, very necessary to put this in the S tier. But yeah, let's keep moving forward. Love me some Empire Strikes Back. Let's go with Andor. This is Andor season 1, of course. We haven't seen what's going on with season 2. So for me, Andor is going to go in the A tier. This is not my favorite live action series, but I understand that it is the best live action series. And it's kind of one of those things where I mean, it's all opinions, of course, but for me, Andor was a really cool character in Rogue One, but once he got his own story, I was just kind of like, well, we know how it ends. We know what happens to him in Rogue One. It's kind of like a sad story that doesn't really need to be told, just because it's like, well, why get too attached to this character when we know what happens to him? I mean, we already felt that way in Rogue One. But it also shows the building, like the internal building of the Empire. This is really cool, and we get to see it basically through Cassian Andor's eyes and through his perspective. And this man is always up to something. I mean, every trailer you see, he's just walking somewhere, and we're following him POV style. Very, very cool. I mean, he's definitely a badass. He's one of those characters where it's just, you don't want to mess with him. He definitely knows his way around things. But yeah, I mean, definitely always has that tag of being a slow burn. And that's Slow burns have some good storytelling, and that's what Andor did. It was a really, really good series. It is actually, um within the next few weeks, it's time to rewatch Andor season one, in anticipation to leading up to Andor season two. So I am ready to see how that all wraps up. And every 3 episodes is going to be a 1 year time jump. So we're gonna have 4 different years that we're gonna be going through. And the very last episode at the end, it leads up 15 minutes before where we see Cassian and Rogue One. So wow, what a missing puzzle piece. But let's keep going here. I would like to put the Clone Wars 2D at the A tier as well. Man, when these came out, I was so blown away. I loved seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting once again. And obviously, this is like a younger Anakin. This is right around the times of the Clone Wars that we are used to. The 7 season arcs that we get for Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This was kind of like an early go at it, I feel. Um, and some of the best things is Mace Windu. Good God, like seeing him kick Grievous's ass, taking out hundreds of battle droids. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I absolutely love this. There was the episode with kind of like the rat people species where Anakin kind of goes off and does his own thing, and ends up kind of forming with them. And it was just kind of like it was cool. It was a cool dynamic. But for me, it was just kind of, this wasn't really too necessary. But yes, there's amazing stories here. And seeing General Grievous just go buck wild in this series was amazing. And just too bad it was too short. But very, very good. Definitely going in that A tier. And let's go ahead and move in just a little bit more. Let's go with The Mandalorian. So for me, season 3 had some episodes where it was like, we could have been without that. I think in season 1, there's one episode like that, if I can remember correctly. Um, just how everything leads up. And this is the main story of the focal point of Disney Star Wars right now, is the Mandoverse. We have Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. We have Din Grogu, who, in my opinion, is going to be the face and continue to be the face of Star Wars for a long time to come, because this is a character that you can, you know, push in all different directions, and you get to understand that that species lives up to almost 1,000 years old. So we have a lot of ground to cover with Grogu, and especially since we don't see that with Master Yoda, we don't ever see a young Yoda. Maybe we can live all of those ideas through Grogu, kind of see how he ends up growing up. And rumor has it for the Mandalorian and Grogu next May, Grogu is going to age a little bit, so that's going to be really cool. I think season 3 had some of the better overall stories. We get to go to Mandalore, we get to see it kind of in ruins, and the mythosaur, Din Grogu finally becoming Din Djarin's son through adoption. Grogu is on his way to become a Mandalorian apprentice officially. The armor, Bo-Katan, all getting their cookies as well. I mean, I couldn't really name a better show. Very fun, and it also kind of got me back into Star Wars. It kind of re-piqued my interest again. Um, so yeah, amazing. So that's going in the A tier. I cannot wait to see more. And shit, let's go ahead and continue in the Mandoverse. Book of Boba Fett. It's another one of those series where the best episode arguably is the episode with Mandalorian, with Din Djarin coming through and saving the day. Absolutely amazing. Some of the coolest, most badass Mandalorian scuffles that we get to go see him go through, and him wielding the dark saber, not being able to wield it like others have in the past, and ultimately injuring himself. And also, I wasn't a huge fan of Paz Vizsla. It's kind of a dick. So it was really cool to see Din Djarin take him down for the dark saber. Um, but Boba Fett being, my favorite character outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I just absolutely loved finally getting that closure on how he escaped the Sarlacc pit, and it's just being the Revenge of the or Return of the Jedi fan that I am. It was absolutely amazing to finally see what happened, and obviously in the Mandalorian we've seen that Boba Fett is back, and but then again it just raises more questions. Boba gets his own show. He ends up taking over Jabba's palace, and it's like a big reunion, and he is back, and he is the daimyo of Mos Espa. Very, very interesting concept because just like the entire course between Boba and Cad Bane let him know that he was going soft in his old age. And this is also, referencing back to the relationship that Boba Fett had with the Tuscans after he escaped the Sarlacc pit. He was basically rescued by the Tuscans and ended up earning his way up with respect. And I mean, it was another one of those shows where it's just like, the timing of this, the vibes, the time of the year was amazing when this came out. So for me, it's very heartfelt. This is going up in the A tier as well. And this is just that it's just for my personal feelings, just because there's a lot going on during that time, and it was such a good show, and I was so excited to see what was going on every episode after that. So amazing series. Put that in the A tier. Yeah, if for the people that are in, let me know what you think of the Book of Boba Fett. It's one of my favorite shows, man. All right, now let's go to Star Wars Rebels. Another one of those feelings where it's like, okay, Andor season one, amazing show. Not my favorite. This is like Rebels for me. I think Rebels has some really good stories. It is very copy and paste, I feel like, with some of the stories. They get in trouble, okay, they get in the ghosts, they get out of the trouble, they're fine. Let's see what the new problem is next episode. It kind of just runs into that same cycle over and over. um don't hate me for saying that. I'm just being honest, but I do enjoy watching Rebels. It is just not my favorite. So for me personally, I'm gonna put that at the C tier. I think another thing too for me is just the look, the production value. It's very rich, but I don't like how skinny and elongated everything feels. I think the lightsabers definitely throw me out of it. They just look not too lightsabery. I mean, you can tell it's a lightsaber, but it's also a tiny nitpick of mine. Just the way it looks. But like I said, it's a good show. It's just not my favorite. So personally, gonna go ahead and put that at the C tier. And then I think this is Powers of Destiny. I'm not too sure what this is. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it in D just because I've never watched it. And from the cover of it, I believe it's all of the women characters in Star Wars kind of all put together here. So maybe it's a woman appreciation series. I'm all for that. That's really cool. But yeah, I've just never seen it. Um, but boom, right here. Let's go Star Wars A New Hope, episode 4. This is the one that started it all. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in the B tier. Just because I mean, even growing up, this was probably the least rewatchable for me. And I feel like that still stands with me today. I do love the rich start that this movie has for Star Wars. It's very important. It's the starter. Um, but at the same time, it's very much so setting up character development and where everyone's going and which direction for the next two films. So, um, absolutely love the movie. I just think it's the least rewatchable, but I know it's worth. So yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and go with Solo. I have some friends who absolutely love Solo, and I have friends that absolutely hate Solo. Me personally, I feel like some of the missions that Han went on, they were just kind of like, cool. I think it's really cool that we got to see how Han ended up obtaining the Millennium Falcon. I think the cameo with Darth Maul at the end, with Kira and himself, I thought that was kind of random, and it seemed like it was kind of thrown in last second. But I can't remember the writer or the director's name, but they ended up stopping halfway, and Bryce Dallas Howard's dad basically picked up the slack and was like, "Okay, I'll finish writing this, and we'll get this movie out." So I mean, kudos to him. I the movie itself, I can go, watching it once a year, maybe once every 2 years, and be all right. So Solo for me, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the C tier. It's not the best, it's not the worst, in my opinion. So I mean, absolutely love seeing that down there in the C tier. And Andy here, C tier for Rebels. Damn boy, that's cold. Yeah, that's just how I feel, man. That's just how I feel. And you know where Solo belongs. Yeah, I'll put Solo back in the pin image column here for you, just for you, Andy. But yeah, for me, Solo's gonna go in the C tier. It's not the best, not the worst. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. But like I said, not too rewatchable, not my favorite. But now we kind of dip into something that let's go ahead and split these real quick. We have the Clone Wars and then the Clone Wars movie. So let's pull the movie and put that in D tier because that is not good at all. Having Jabba the Hutt's son, we are rumored to be getting him in the Mandalorian and Grogu film. Cool, I'm down for that. But this showing, Rhoda the Hutt being the young kid he was, basically a baby. So Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano are in charge of getting Jabba the Hutt's son back to Jabba. Probably one of the most boring concepts that I could think of, but at the same time, there's some cool bits and pieces there. You can tell the animation was fresh, and they were trying to see which direction they could go with this series here. But absolutely love it because this is the start of Ahsoka Tano. And if you know me too as well, I did not like Ahsoka as a character at the beginning, but now coming full circle, absolutely love Ahsoka. So I can always be appreciative of where it all started. So, yeah, we got the Clone Wars movie down at the bottom of the list and the Clone Wars TV series. So, if I could split this off, season 7 would be S tier all day, every day. Not a single thing wrong with season 7 for me. But some of the earlier seasons, with how slow they are, some of the production scale and how it looked, I feel like there's a lot of stories that we get. It seems like everyone gets a tiny little arc. For me, we get to see Kit Fisto, we get to see Plo Koon, who has multiple arcs, Ahsoka Tano, Count Dooku. We get to see a lot of Count Dooku. We get to see young Boba Fett. We get to see Bosk. We get to see Aura Singh. Asajj Ventress, a very, very impactful character during the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan, Anakin. We also get to see Padme and Anakin's relationship, continue to lead up to Revenge of the Sith. Maul comes back. I mean, Clone Wars is very amazing. We get to see all of those little things that we would have never seen before or even read about. So, I can always be very happy with these character choices and the episodes and where they go. And some of my favorite episodes, for instance, is the episodes where Cad Bane goes to the Jedi Temple and is trying to steal some items that belong to the Jedi Temple itself. Really cool. Also the Quinlan Voss episode with Cad Bane as well, Zero the Hutt. Really, really cool episode. And also I would say probably one of my favorite episodes outside of season 7 would be the episodes where Boba Fett is trying to get Mace Windu. I think that is really cool just because I remember reading scripts with my dad when I was younger, and episode 7 was supposed to be this big ordeal where Boba Fett ends up finally avenging his father by killing Mace Windu. So very, very interesting, and what that could have been. It's really cool to see those in the Clone Wars. But yes, we're gonna go ahead and put the Clone Wars up in the A tier, just because I feel like those earlier seasons kind of hold it back. But like I said, season 7, 100% S tier all day, every day, and just to know that the character development between Rex and Ahsoka and how it ends off, and when Order 66 is executed, it's just so close, and just how everything unfolds, and Maul understanding that Anakin was going to be the next, kin to Vader, to Palpatine, and just how he tried telling Ahsoka and she just flat out wouldn't listen. It happens in Star Wars quite a bit, and it always sucks seeing that and knowing that you are sitting on the couch or in the chair just watching, and it's like you can't do anything about it. So season 7 is very, very heavy in a sense. So moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and put something where it should be, no matter what. There's absolutely no question for debate with me. I will always listen to what you say, but Revenge of the Sith is S tier. If this could have its own spot above S, where it's just untouchable, that's where Revenge of the Sith lies with me. I cannot wait to go see it again here next month. It's going to be a great month of April. But yeah, I mean, I don't even, it's hard to even say why I love Revenge of the Sith, because from start to finish, it's a great movie. And excuse me. And I also just firmly believe that, in my opinion, Revenge of the Sith is the best movie of all time. So that's uh that's just where I stand with it. It is one of those movies as a child to where I was just watching it on repeat every single day, every single weekend. I was always studying the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, always studying the 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 choreography. Like, if you were to turn on Revenge of the Sith and all I can hear is the audio, I can picture exactly what's going on. Um Movement wise, I know what's going on. It's insane when you get to that point with movies. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, Revenge of the Sith was the missing puzzle piece for George Lucas's movies 1 through 6, and it tied everything in so beautifully, and I absolutely love that. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith, S tier, all day, every day. Let's go ahead and split up the sequels here. We got one of them on. Um, Man, Force Awakens. It's like a New Hope in a sense. It's basically introducing us to these new sets of characters in the sequel trilogy. At the very end, we get to see Luke. Like the last third of the movie, we get to see Leia, and then of course we get to see Han Solo, and this is where Han Solo goes off. I don't know if this was a Harrison Ford effect. Get me out of Star Wars. But yeah, Kylo Ren, awesome character. Absolutely love the way he looks. I think he's one of the cooler looking villains in the franchise, and it's a good starter story for the sequels. I feel like a very popular opinion is this is the best of the sequels. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and put The Force Awakens at the B tier. I mean, I still can't ever forget the uproar that was in the theaters on opening night for this in my small town in Kansas. So I mean, absolutely amazing. Definitely holds a special place. But yeah, we'll put that on the B tier. Let's go ahead and split the prequel trilogy here, and let's go with Attack of the Clones. Oh man, we're gonna go B. We're gonna go B. It's such a good movie. I love seeing Jango Fett. I love seeing a young Boba Fett. The Battle of Geonosis obviously is probably the biggest thing to take from this episode. We get to see all the Jedi. This is the most lightsabers ignited in a live action Star Wars movie. So episode 1 through 9, this is going to be the biggest Jedi battle that we get to see. So really cool. Love seeing the fight between Count Dooku, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. Count Dooku beats both of them. Here comes Yoda. And this is the first time we see Yoda go absolutely batshit crazy with a lightsaber. Very cool. And then also, I love everything about Camino. It was really cool to see how all the clones are being made, and seeing who the host is for cloning these, and that happens to be Jango Fett. The Kaminoans are really cool aliens in in the Star Wars universe, and I always appreciate them. They're really cool, and I mean, even if they're shady, sometimes still really cool looking characters there. But yeah, Attack of the Clones. I mean, it's one of those childhood classics for me. So that's gonna go in the B tier, and I don't think I could put it any lower. I don't think I could put it any higher. So um, we're gonna go ahead and go with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. For me, this was amazing. I thought it was really, really good. Um, Now I know that I feel like going into this series that one of the Inquisitors was gonna have a big shine. Personally, I thought it was gonna be the Grand Inquisitor or the fifth brother. I had no idea of Reva until, we got trailers, and, I think Moses Ingram did a great job, for what she needed to do. I feel like some of the chasing Leia scenes were kinda just like, "Okay, like what's going on? Let's kind of fast forward this." And we barely see young Luke. I don't know if that's the point. I don't, and also this is just a point in time where this was the story being told. Deborah Chow and her vision here for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but hey, we got Hayden Christensen back as well, and we actually get to see him play the character of Vader in the suit. So very, very cool. Um, so yeah, give me Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're gonna put this on the A tier because I absolutely enjoyed it. And I remember that summer too when it came out. Very, very cool. And it was fun. It was a fun time watching with the wife, talking to my dad and my brother about it. It was a really good time. So a lot of these shows too and movies, it also comes with vibes. Everything. What were you doing at the time this came out? What were you doing at the time that this released? So that's what I also put into play. But right off the bat here, I see two that will be in the S tier, and I see one, two at maybe the B, C level. So let's go The Last Jedi. I think this film is very overhated. This is basically for those fans that are like, well, that's not my Luke Skywalker. And it's like, well, whatever canon Luke there is, I mean, that is the Luke Skywalker. I mean, it's kind of hard to think of a character and be like, well, this is how I think of him, and it's like, well, that's just not the way he's portrayed. That was a book, a lot of books that were written by artists that really had no influence with George Lucas, um, no interaction. They George Lucas knew that there's going to be writers, expanding these characters, and that's the whole point. I mean, I don't know. For me, it all seems reasonable. It all makes sense why Luke goes off and becomes a hermit. I mean, look at his masters that trained them. They were both in hiding from the dark side. Luke sensed the dark side from Snoke and Palpatine and a young um, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, and he acted the way I feel like most people would act. So, I mean, definitely a very overhated movie. But for me, um Kylo and Rey getting closer and closer through the Force dyad, very cool. I will have to go ahead and put it at the C tier here, just because, just kind of where it sits. I don't think it goes any higher. I don't think it goes any lower. But going into Rogue One, kind of in the land of Rogue One right now anyways, with Andor season 2 coming out next month. Yeah, Rogue One will see you in the S tier. This is an impeccable movie. Absolutely amazing. Um, I remember the first time seeing it and just being like, wow, this is very off from Star Wars. But all of the Vader scenes, absolutely amazing. And arguably, we have one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars with the Vader hallway scene. I don't think anyone was expecting that when that happened. Absolute banger of a scene. I mean, even just sitting, if I was to turn it on this TV right now and just watch it, I'm leaning up in the seat, I'm watching. I'm locking in. I got this. I have to see this, for the 100th time. Absolutely amazing. Orson Krennic, for me personally, is probably my favorite Rogue One character. I love me some Krennic, and I'm so excited to see him come back for Andor season 2. Jen Urso has a really cool story. Her dad, was like one of the top engineers and blueprint makers for the Death Star. And really cool to see how that all kind of comes into play in the movie. And also, I mean, Tarkin, amazing. We get to see Vader, of course. And it's basically a whole new cast of characters, whole new list of new characters in the Star Wars universe. And they all, sacrifice himself in the end for the greater cause, and it helps them defeat the Empire, in years to come. So very, very cool. So yeah, there's Rogue One and Phantom Menace. We got two movies left. The Phantom Menace for me, I'm gonna have to go ahead and see you in the B tier because this movie is amazing. I remember always putting this on, even VHS, and just fast forwarding to the Duel of the Fates. Absolutely amazing. Love that fight. I'm probably top two, maybe top three at the least. Um, Star Wars battle in all of Star Wars. I think it's amazing. Darth Maul. We get a very young and athletic Ray Park killing that role. And it's just for its time, it's amazing. We get to see a young Anakin, that's the young Darth Vader. Qui-Gon Jinn is a one of one Jedi. He is just himself in his own way. And absolutely loved seeing a young Obi-Wan Kenobi. We get to see him struggle a little bit at times. So I think that makes it really awesome. Um, Plus, if you like the political side of Star Wars, episode one is definitely the route to go just because it's so much politically. We get to see Palpatine, we get to see Padme, the Separatists. Really, really interesting. So, yeah, Phantom Menace was really cool. And it was also really cool to go see that in theater last year. So, really cool. But to cap it off, guys, Return of the Jedi. This is an S tier. There's just almost nothing wrong with this movie, in my opinion. If you don't know me, everything about Jabba's palace, the sail barge, the Sarlacc pit, the Max Rebo band, everything is some of my favorite Star Wars and all of Star Wars. I love everything about it. If I could have it my way, I would ask Disney to please create Tales of the Gangsters or Tales of the Huts. And I would love to see how Jabba ran things, how his cousins ran things, and just basically how the Huts were in the Outer Rim. They were completely protected and you just knew not to mess with them. It's kind of like a mafia style for the Star Wars universe. And plus, I think it's a really cool, it's a cool way to kind of look at the character of Luke Skywalker and where he's come from. This is, like I said earlier, Empire Strikes Back has the best bridge going into this episode of Return of the Jedi. So I just loved everything about Luke finally coming through with his father, with Darth Vader, getting through to him, defeating Palpatine for the time being, and Luke and Leia understanding their relationship and staying together, coming together. Really, really interesting. Absolutely love Return of the Jedi. There's just so many good bits and pieces in it. So yeah, guys, right here, this is the tier list right here for me. So if, as you can tell, I'm a Star Wars fan through and through. There's a lot I like more than what I don't like. I think it's like a 90-10 ratio of things that I like versus what I don't like. So, looking at this is, more of a list for me than I could ever, imagine redoing. So I feel like there's a lot of good things in between. But then, I got my projects up top that it's just like, I don't see anything wrong with these. Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, and the Ahsoka Tano series. Absolutely think those are bangers. And the very perfect series and movies with just a little bit of knocks, just like Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, Andor, Clone Wars 2D, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, the Clone Wars series, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So those are kind of all of me, the S tiers, but with knocked down just a little bit. And these are all of my shows that I'm like, I absolutely love these. They're just, perfect for me, kind of rewatchable in a sense, with the Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, and New Hope, Force Awakens. And we also have Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace. Those are all right there in the B tier. C tier, we're kind of going down just a little bit more. And we're hitting it with Star Wars Visions, Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Rebels, Solo, and The Last Jedi. Those are, very average Star Wars projects to me. And then D, we have the very last tier, we have Tales of the Empire, we have Star Wars: The Resistance, the Clone Wars movie, and then we also have like the Forces of Destiny series. I have never watched that, so this itself can be put to the outside. It's kind of in a league of its own. I'm not hating on the women characters of Star Wars because some of my favorite characters are the women there. So I just haven't watched it. So we're gonna have to put that one together. But yeah, guys, this is the list right here. This is the list. Um, I think it's put together in a good way. But yeah, I'll leave that up here and go through some of these contacts and comments here. And here comes Andy again. He says, "Do you think Rogue One is good because of the hallway scene, or is it that scene that's the cherry on top of the cake?" Yeah, the scene absolutely is. What it's not what makes the entire show. It's not what makes the entire movie, but I mean, that's what makes it absolutely amazing. Kind of like I said, like Orson Krennic, um, the way they're trying to, keep everything in line for the production of the Death Star. I love everything about that. And I also love like this is kind of the point where we get to see the first strike that the Death Star has made. And plus it takes you back to that classic Star Wars, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. And even in Return of the Jedi, they're rebuilding the Death Star. And I think it's really cool that we get to see kind of like the backbone of everything, like Galen Erso showing us how, um, he knows that he's building this weapon of mass destruction basically for the galaxy and can eliminate planets, and could you imagine the way, you'd feel if you had to, create something like that and it just wasn't what you were with? But overall, it's a good story. Just to add even the new set of characters that we get, Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, Bodhi's a very underrated character, and also Scarif, very very beautiful. Jeddah, really cool to see here, and then also playing it in Jedi Survivor. Really beautiful scenery in these scenes here in the movie. And also not to mention the shore troopers are probably some of my favorite looking stormtroopers in all of Star Wars. I absolutely love those. I wish that they can make a Lego helmet of that. And actually kind of leading in to someone who's actually sent us um, a mock build of that is Seriously Star Wars. What's up, Chris? Thanks for chiming in, brother. Glad to see you here. But yeah, we have absolutely ranked all of the Star Wars films and series, and yeah, absolutely. That's how it is for this episode. Had everyone vote for it on the Instagram, and it's really cool to see all that pan out. But yeah, I mean, like I said right here, this is pretty neutral into a sense. I mean, I could move a couple series down, and it would be pretty symmetrical. So but yeah, those are what I pick right there. So um also too to mention, guys, thank you for everyone chiming in tonight. I appreciate it. It's it's one of those things too, talking about, it's kind of awkward talking about your favorite things by yourself just because you don't you don't know what everyone else is thinking. It's we all have our favorites, and obviously it sparks up the question, like, how come you like this scene? Is this what makes it, good for you? Kind of like Andy said, it's like it's one of those things that makes you think like, oh yeah, well, here's actually some other supporting reasons why I like this scene in this movie, for instance. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, my some of my questions are like, what if the like Andor season 2 is like absolutely not what we think it is, and now it's like, well, I have to bring down the Andor rank just a little bit because I mean it just didn't live up to the hype. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Things like that. Or even over time, like with the Ray films, Sean Levy's film, James Mangold's film, like where are we going to rank those later? Like those are always very interesting to me. um and also too, like, what are these next two animated series going to be? Where would those rank at? Personally, if we were to get a Hidden Path animated series, that'd be amazing. But I've been kind of thinking on this realm of like, what if we get like a backstory to Kylo Ren? Like that would be very, very interesting. I feel like a lot of people would actually like to see that. Some people who don't really like the sequels, of course, probably wouldn't be the biggest fan of that idea. But at the same time, I think that he's such a known character he should definitely get his own backstory. I mean, he's Luke, or he's Luke's nephew. He's Leia and Han's son, for Christ's sakes. Come on, man, give us this Kylo Ren series. That would be amazing. But well, I think with that ranking there, actually, that was a pretty quick episode compared to last week. Um, I think everything that we talked about there was all very truthful. I'm not going to rank something that I don't, or that I do, just to kind of make some people happy or make people mad. So I that was all of my rankings, truthfully. And it's crazy how sometimes they can just ranking it makes you think of, like, all of the factors, like, well, was it that good? No, there's a couple things that take off from it. So I mean, there's a lot to think about. So that's one of those cooler things there, with ranking the films, because you're just thinking the whole time, like, wow, that's a scene I forgot about that could have made it go higher. So trying to rank them in a quick fashion too, you're thinking, well, is this going to be the final ranking, or is this is how I feel right now, which is also valid as well. It's also cool, doing the conversation too, where we do the podcast and we're talking to other fans and stuff, and it's like, well, like, what are some of your favorite things? And the for instance, you get people who are just like, well, this month I'm really liking, Star Wars The Resistance, and then like next month they'll go on and find like their other favorite thing that they're liking at the time. So I mean, it's all cool. It's good, and it helps you grow as a fan. Just siphoning through all of the different projects, really coming out to what you actually like. So I mean, you can't hate on it in that sense. So absolutely love that. Man, but yeah, this was a great episode. I absolutely loved everyone. Thank all of you guys for chiming in. And if you've made it this far in the replay, or if you need to go back and rewatch, make sure you go do that now. That'll be up on the channel as well. So you can go through and see where we ranked everything, and kind of gave some of my reasoning too, as we went on, So wanted to make sure that you guys could see where I was ranking everything myself. So but yeah, with that being said, guys, thank you so much. If you haven't already, before we dip out here, make sure you go to Instagram, sign up in the 500 subscriber giveaway, which is another thing that I'm very thankful for you guys helping me create this channel here. And we're just taking it one video at a time, and one post at a time. So absolutely, thank you guys so much. May the force be with you, and also let me know down in the comments too, what is okay, the one question I'm going to ask you, and if you can drop it down in the comments, what is an S tier Star Wars project for you? So any movie, series, live action, animated, any Star Wars project, what is S tier? What is superior? What has no flaws? What are your favorites? Make sure you drop that down in the comments. I would love to check up on those and see what you guys are thinking. But until next time, guys, thank you so much. Another episode of After Dark. We will see you guys in the next one next week for live stream number 3. So you guys take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.